open. This is Lancaster Woodturners Weekly Coffee Hour number. I'm not sure if it's 172 or 173, and I can't really find out right now. We've been doing this since March of 2020, March, April 2020. Let me see. Announcements today, November 7th is the next Lancaster Club meeting. Barry, you might know who the demo is. Who's the demo? Do you know?
I'm not sure if Ben had finalized, and maybe he's on here, Toby.
Oh, good. I'm hoping that would be great if it's Toby. Toby has a great demo on how do you extract, what do you do when you got a big fat burl? How do you get the most out of it? And I've seen some of the pictures from it. He showed them on here, but as a class, it's really a good demo. Then November 11th will be a Lancaster Open Shop, Saturday morning, 9 to noon. I'm going to be there then, I hope, and I hope I'm going to turn some little tops this time. I got tangled up with boxes last time, and I'll do that again if somebody comes along and wants to play around with boxes. But I've also been working on the guy from Seattle, who names escape me, who does the skew tricks. I've been practicing. I can turn a beautiful little top entirely with my skew now, and I can also do it entirely with my spindle roughing gouge or with my regular ladyfinger gouge. So there you go.
You mean the guy that was at Mid-Atlantic?
Yeah, I've been watching his
Lyle? No, not.
No,
Eric Lofgren.
Eric
Lofgren. Yeah, he's terrific.
Yeah, fantastic guy. Yeah.
And the thing I learned from that was most useful was to flex your knees and dive into the don't waving your arms around with a skew chisel is not a good idea. Move your whole body.
Yeah.
Helped me out. I got a long way with that tip. Any other announcements? Is Randy on here? What's up with Susquehanna? The Susquehanna meeting, I think, will be the 14th.
Couple of things. At our meeting last week, the local woodcraft store is going to have their annual turn for the troops. That will be on November 4th and 5th, from the store open till the store close. We had a very nice presentation by Kurt Kapp at our meeting. He demonstrated or showed a lot of the combined hybrid resin and wood burl things that he did, and it was very interesting and beautiful. And also the farm show here in Harrisburg is coming up. That is on.
It was just yesterday, the last farm show.
Pardon?
It was just yesterday, the last farm show. You got COVID.
Yeah, last year I got COVID right after the farm show.
Yeah.
This year the farm show is from January 6th till the 13th. And next month our meeting is a hands-on. We're going to be doing bowls and hollow forms.
Okay.
So anybody who wants to attend, bring your tools, bring your experience, and we'll have a good time.
Okay. Lancaster Club will also be having elections for treasurer and vice president this year, and that'll be at the December meeting. So nominations are now open for those positions. I've been treasurer for the past 4 years. I'm stepping aside on that, and Ben Kaufman's been vice president for the last 4, and he's also stepping aside. We elect 2 officers every year, so we always have continuity in our little executive team, and it's working pretty good. Any other clubs who want to make an announcement? What about, I know there's something coming up with the Quad State guys. Gerald, what do you guys got going
on? This Saturday, we have our regularly monthly meeting at the Allegheny College facility, and Pam is going to do a demonstration on a weed pot. It's just a totally unique thing. It's not turned in the traditional way. It's so unique. I'll try to take a picture and bring it to the next meeting. Also, I think on this not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, November 4th, I believe. We're going to be meeting here at my place for just our regular wood turning seminar of whoever wants to show up and play around with the lathes.
So where do you guys meet now? Are you in a maker space? Am I right about that?
Yes, it's at Allegheny College. It is a makerspace, and
Allegheny College in Cumberland or where?
yes, in Cumberland. Well, it's in Lowdale, which is a suburb of Cumberland.
Cumberland, Maryland. Okay, yeah. What about Nittany Valley? Is Vasco on here? What's coming up with you guys?
Well, last week we had a wand turning class, and then on Saturday we had we went to a Reed's Gap State Park and turned in the rain. That was interesting. We had one new turner and one semi-new turner, and they did really well. Because of low attendance, they got a lot of personal instruction and tips, and so our new turner, she was able to turn a top and a Christmas tree, and we were real happy about that. There was about 350 people came through, and we got a couple of signups for come to the club meeting, which is kind of fun. This week we don't have anything, but the next week then we have another wand turning class at our place called the Rivet. And so that'll be interesting. We'll have 5 or 6 people show up. I think there are 5 signed up for it right now.
Is that the maker space where you guys are meeting?
Yeah, that's the makerspace where we meet.
And that's in what town?
That's in State College.
State College, okay. Any other clubs want to make an announcement?
Yeah, if I could add to that, Ken, we are committed to the community, as are so many of you. And one of our commitments is to the housing transition space. They provide housing for all kinds of people who are in desperate need. And they also teach them how to get back into the community and be productive members of society. The bottom line for us is that we donated, our members donated a large number of items to a charity event, and they were sold at both a live auction and a silent auction. And I would say that that contributed about $4,000 to housing transitions.
Very nice. And you're also with Nittany Valley.
That's correct.
Yeah. Any other clubs who want to make an announcement? Let's get through that part. Okay, this is a show and tell morning, so
John, can I just ask you a question? Did you have a good turnout last Saturday on at your box event?
we did. I had a couple of guys interested in boxes, and there were about a dozen or so members in the room. Quite a bit of activity going on around the bandsaw that involved lots of banging and noises and things flying around, and several people turning and a lot of yakety yak. It was a good morning. Quite a bit. I had quite a bit of fun anyway. And then we had 5 of us went to lunch. We went to our favorite dive, Gracie's on Main. Gracie's is a Lancaster uniqueness. It's a bacon specialist. You can get a flight of 7 kinds of bacon if you want. So it's a good place to go get replenished after a hard morning of turning wood.
Is the coffee good at the open shop, or is it marginal?
It's marginal. It's it's coffee from the Ben is the coffee roaster for the New Holland Coffee Company, and he brings these little Keurig little things filled with his own special blend of coffee. But I don't know. I think Keurig coffee is dreadful myself, so it just gets, But anyway, that's what's available. One of these days, somebody will donate us a really nice espresso machine. That'll be a break. Okay, let's go to the hands. We got a new guy here, Dave Hickman, who contacted me last week and wanted to show stuff. So let's lead off with Dave. You ready to go, Dave?
Yep.
Dave lives somewhere in Virginia, Shenandoah Valley.
Yep. I live in Berryville, Virginia. And can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So first of all, I wanted to thank this group. I've been, watching online for the last year or so, as kind of stumbled upon the group but I work full time, so I can't attend live. So it's nice to be able to watch the recordings. So it's, I think it's had a great impact on the turning community, and just wanted to thank you all, John, for running and moderating, and for everybody, having their input. So thank you to you all. A little bit of background about me. I was born and raised in Spain. My parents were missionaries, so I lived there till I graduated from high school. I came back to go to college, and graduated from Kutztown University, stone's throw away, with a degree in computer science. Like I said before, I live now in Berryville in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley, about halfway between Winchester and Percival, if you're familiar with either of those, about an hour and a half west of DC. I work for the Airplane Owners and Pilots Association. Think little airplanes, single, 2, 3-seater airplanes. It's a nonprofit organization that focuses on aircraft safety, aviation safety. My wife is a professional quilter. I've heard some others talk about their wives being quilters. Here's a couple pictures of my wife's recent quilt. We share the basement with our side-by-side studios. And obviously I need to keep my door shut so the dust doesn't affect her stuff.
Let me just ask you of that airline association, do you know a fellow named Paul Bertorelli?
That does not sound familiar.
Okay, he works for one of those kind of associations, but I guess a different one. Yeah. He used to be a colleague of mine years ago. He's a woodworker. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
ALPA's headquarters in Frederick. There's a similar one, ALPA, which is the Airline Pilots Association. And they're just outside of DC.
Okay.
So sometimes they're similar but different organizations. So, and by the way, please feel free to ask questions as I go along. Go ahead and interrupt. So a little bit about my turning journey. I had a small shop that did, mainly flat work type stuff. Excuse me. I read a number of articles, including one in Wood Magazine where somebody was using up little scraps of wood, segmenting, turning, and making some small things that always interested me. I really had not done much turning, but for our 5th anniversary, my wife got me my first lathe, Harbor Freight Special, and not knowing if I was going to like it or not. Now 20 years later, in fact, this week is our 25th wedding anniversary, which is why we're away celebrating. It's still enjoyable and lots of fun. So getting into some of my work, I just showing a few slides here. This is a bowl platter.
Okay.
It's a redwood burl, and the finish on this one is General Finishes salad bowl finish.
Well, go back to that for a second, please.
Yep.
Do you find redwood easy to turn, or is it pecky? What's it like?
It's very soft, at least this was, and it sanded very unevenly. The knots, didn't sand, and everything else did. So it was a little bit hard to get an even surface. It's beautiful, but it is it's on the softer side.
Yeah, I thought it might be hard to turn. I've never tried it. Yeah.
This is spalted maple. This actually came from my brother-in-law's backyard. The rim looks very thin. It looks like it's much thinner than it actually is. And but I think the spalting just turned out beautiful. This one sits in our living room. I really like this one here.
That's beautiful spalting. That's a good big bowl too. That's a big piece. What are you turning on? What lathe?
This one was turned on my Harbor Freight 10 by what is it, 12 by 36. My newer lathe is a Powermatic 3520 B.
Okay.
I love your foot.
What's that? Oh, the foot.
Cool.
Yeah.
The foot on the boat. Yeah.
It's not a standard straight bead, is it? It's a little bit rounded at the top and slopes.
Yeah, it's a little more sloped at the bottom than it is, so it's not a exact bead, but yeah,
It
Uh,
goes well. It goes well with the rim.
it lifts it up very nicely. Yeah. This is a little box that I made for my wife. It had some, you can see up in the edge here, it had some worm, eaten through. It's a oak, and the finial was painted black. It's cherry. It was ebonized. I think I tried some ebonizing stuff on it and it didn't work so well, so I just painted it. And this, I just used Deft spray lacquer for it. And this is actually a wormhole that's in the top there.
Nice box. Nice finial too.
Thank you. This is a very small spalted maple. It's, really tiny. It's one of the first little boxes that I made. And again, spalted maple from my brother-in-law's backyard. And I like how the grain follows the lid. And it's just an easy lift off. It doesn't hold it at all. So you're seeing a lot of spalted maple, and I have to tell a little bit of a story here. When I was first starting to turn, my brother-in-law had this maple in his backyard that he was cutting down. He said, "You want some of it?" And I said, "Sure." So I grabbed my chainsaw and went over to his house and cut it up into, cut the pith out and the usable blanks. And at the time, it was very early on when I was starting to turn. So I put it in some paper bags and stuck it in my garage. And a couple months later, knowing that it had to dry, I went out and looked at it, and I was like, "What's all this black stuff? It got moldy. It's like I've ruined it." It just, oh my goodness. I was like, well, let me see if I can, do something with it. So I cut it off, cut on the bandsaw, cut it round, and then started turning. And I was like, wow, look at this. I didn't even know what I had done or that it was something that was desirable. I didn't know anything about spalting at the time. And you see some of the results. So that is now one of my favorite things to do.
Well, let's talk about the spalting for a little sec. Do you take any precautions against breathing the dust and stuff like that?
I do now. Back in the day, I didn't know that. But generally speaking, it's fairly dry by the time I get to it. And but I do have a full face mask now, respirator. So yes.
And how do you deal with the hard, soft nature of spalted maple?
So I try to get to it before it gets too punky. And if it do get some spots that are punky, then I use some CA glue and just do the best. And there's times when you can't do anything about it. You just have to, it's going to be a little bit of tear out, and just the way it is, and live with it.
That's a beautiful piece of wood. I got to say, that side view is.
Yeah, this is a favorite, and actually the design has an undercut on the inside. We call this our candy and nut bowl, because if you put M&Ms in there and you reach in and grab some there's a few that invariably end up on this outer rim and will just sit there and kind of teasing you to come pick me up. So I really like that. This next one, it was one of the first ones that I did, and not knowing how to do an undercut lip, I just kind of winged it, and it came out okay. There's a little bit of tear out there, but again, another piece from my brother-in-law's maple. And this was one of my first commission pieces. There was a coworker who wanted a bowl to be able to chop. They had a family recipe that they used cabbage for, and they had a special rounded knife, kind of like an ulu or a mezzaluna knife that they wanted to be able to use. So he commissioned this, and after he got it, he was like, "This is too pretty to use." So I don't know if they've used it or not, but the inside shape matches the knife so that they could cut the cabbage, and it's thick because it was going to be used for that. They wanted an heirloom piece, and I think they got that. So,
Well, how do you compare Mahoney's walnut oil with the general salad bowl finish that we saw in the earlier pieces?
so the Mahoney's walnut oil is more of a penetrating oil. You don't get as much of a sheen, I don't think. This was the first time I used that, mainly because I knew it was going to be in everyday use. I've now switched to what Raffin uses, which is boiled linseed oil and wax. I still have some Mahoney's, but I've really switched to the boiled linseed. I really like that, and the speed at which you can get to a finished product. I found with the general finishes why I like the finish, and it's shiny. It just takes multiple coats and drying time between them, and I have limited time in the shop, so it's just much easier to right on the lathe, apply some boiled linseed and some wax and be done. But that's where I am right now with that.
What kind of wax are you using with boiled linseed oil?
Beeswax,
Oh, okay.
just natural beeswax. I actually had a hive that was in my yard and melted down the wax, and my neighbor now is a beekeeper, and I'll be getting some from them as well.
Cool.
Here's a piece of another piece of spalted maple, and as you can slightly tell in the left-hand picture, this is my introduction to the Funnel Club, and so I too am a member. I didn't wear my badge today, but so I went through the bottom, and I was like, well, what can I do? So I flattened it and attached a piece of black walnut to the bottom, and was like, wow, that's not going to look quite right. So I added a piece of black walnut as a band, I think it came out pretty well, and I think this one actually sold. So
So you don't know what happened over time to those glue lines, whether they were.
I do not. I do not. But I just use the regular wood glue, type on 2, something like that. So this is a very large piece. It has a very similar shape to that nut and candy bowl, but it is, a good, 14.5, 15 inches. This was a piece that I got from Hawaii. We were over there celebrating our 20th anniversary, and the one thing I wanted to come back with was a nice piece of koa to turn something to remember that with, and contacted one of the local turners there, and went over to his shop, and he sold me this piece, and you can see that there's some flame here. It was an actual Y, and it turned out beautiful and sits in our living room.
How'd you get it back?
I shipped it. I was it would have possibly fit in my suitcase if I would have, taken some things out or rearranged, but I was afraid that the customs or whatever, they might say something. So I boxed it. I went to UPS store and boxed it up, and the guy looked at me like, you want to ship wood? And he's like, yes. So it cost me like twice as much to ship it as it did to buy it. But I think the result turned out really well.
Back in the day, you could just write the address on the wood and ship it, but now you have to put it in a box. And what I always think of is, that's going to be a 30-pound piece of koa. Put that in your luggage and then get it up in the rack in the airplane. Huh?
No. Yeah. And I didn't want to chance it if they were going to say something agricultural or something like that. And so, no, not after going through all of that. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
What finish is on it?
That also has the solid bowl finish on it.
Oh, I can't read, sorry.
That's okay. So we live on 5 acres, and we've got a bunch of black walnuts and a bunch of hickories, bitternut hickories to be exact. And one of them came down a number of years ago, and I kept a chunk where there was a Y, and it was a couple of years ago, it was time to turn that. And so this is a piece, but the hickory just cracks and splits very easily. I even had this put in a kiln, and I think it did worse in the kiln, but as a memento to my sons, this one and the next one were their Christmas presents, and I've got a couple more pieces that we will pick one for ourselves. So that's one of the two, and then this is the second one. This one had a split that went all the way through. Both of these are my first use of epoxy, and I probably will not do very much epoxy going forward just because of the time it takes and the 50 different ways that you have to hold it to just pour a little bit of it. I want to be turning, not pouring epoxy, has been my thought. And these both I used boiled linseed and the beeswax, which I'm using now. This was a piece that I made for my wife for Valentine's Day back in the day. I don't remember, it's like 7, 8, 10 years ago. And I didn't notice it at the time, but when I gave it to her, she noticed that there was a heart in the spalting, and that there was a face in the spalting. Those were purely accidental, not on purpose or anything like that. But she loves it as and sits in our dining room as well.
And is that hollow? Did you bore that out with a drill bit?
I bored that out with a Forstner bit, and it has a glass tube that sits inside, so flowers can be put in it.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's not hollowed beyond just the drilling.
So how far down would that go? 6 inches?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
This was a custom order. They wanted very large, 4 very large salad bowls. They're from black walnut, and you can see the figure on the one on the right. They came out beautiful, and they got shipped out to the Chicago area. They were very large. I don't know how somebody would eat a salad that large every day for lunch, but This was an interesting one. I was approached by somebody who wanted a pen in the shape of an okra. He and his brother-in-law had this ribbing going back and forth between them for many years. One didn't like okra and the other one did, and they would get gag gifts for each other all the time dealing with okra. So he wanted this pen. So it was first turned and then carved and stained both yellow and green. And then you can see that there's some little seed areas where they split apart. And he was thrilled. He thought that was the greatest thing, and very interesting custom order.
Nice little box you made there too.
Yeah. It actually is engraved on the top. I had a friend laser engrave it with the person's name, and just a little cherry box with a hinge.
There's some kind of special hinges going on there too, though. What are they?
They're barrel hinges.
Okay.
I think they came from Woodcraft. So the back has a little bit of an angle so that when it opens, it doesn't bind.
Yeah.
And then in 2009, I took a class with Johannes Mikkelsen, the hat man, if you're familiar with him. He had come to a local club and had demonstrated making a hat, and I thought that was the greatest thing. So my son and we both went up, and it was a 3-day class. And so you see the block started on the left, 75 pounds, freshly cut the day before. Bandsawed it round. Well, actually, it was a little bit of an angle. Turned the outside of the brim first, and then you can see pictures of turning the top right, turning the bottom of the brim using light to make sure that it was a consistent thickness, and then turning the inside of the hat again using light to make sure it had a constant thickness. Then we reversed it and put it in a chuck with a light so that we could do the outside crown of the hat. And then once that was done, the actual band was done by rubbing another piece of colored wood, darker wood, to it. So it's all one piece. I forget what wood we use, but just rubbing the heat and friction transfers the color from one wood to the other. We put it in a bender with some rubber bands, and that was before we left for the evening. By the next morning, it had relaxed and had bent over, more like the finished product.
Does it fit you?
It does. Yep.
And where do you wear it?
Occasionally I wear it. You know, the hard part is if you wear it to a restaurant or something like that, you don't want to wear it while you're eating. You're going to go to set it down, and it's like, no, I don't think so. So I do wear it, just not all the time. Special occasions. And it is very thin. It is very light. I'm told that it weighs less than a felt hat of the same size. So I don't know if you've heard of him or if, you know, but he does do classes up in Vermont at his shop, and he does come around to some of the shows. And he's been in the journal a number of times.
Yeah, we all know him, and many of us know him one way or the other, and for many years actually. Quite a guy.
He is. Yes. So once again, I wanted to thank everybody for letting me share, and I can't join live every week, but I will join when I can, but I still will be watching. And if you want to see some more of my work, there's my website, or get in contact with me. Actually, that is incorrect. That is not the correct email address. So ignore that email address. I will post it in the chat.
Okay. Thank you very much. Dave, any questions and comments for Dave?
Very nice photographing your work, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you shooting them all on white?
It's actually gray. It's a
Okay.
gray background. It's a solid gray. And you know, it just gives it a constant look behind it.
Okay. Any other comments for Dave? Okay. I want to note before I go on, we have 44 on screen now. After earlier in the fall, we've been working with more like in the 35, 38. So for some reason, as the weather starts to turn, more people start to show up. And it might be having to do, I sent the invitation at dawn this morning. I did the same last week versus sending it yesterday or the day before. But as most of you know, the link doesn't change from one week to the next. We've used the same link for 3 years now. So all you got to do is find any old invitation, and we're always here at the same time every week. Okay.
By the way, John, I do have Kathy's picture. Just she doesn't have her hand raised, but I do have it.
Let's show that right away, and then we'll go to these old regular guys. What do you got?
All right.
Let's show what Kathy made. Kathy hasn't been around for a while.
Yeah, been a little busy. I don't
Yeah.
know. You may not know, but I had a new grandson, my 5th grandson, last July, and he was born with a left lung that did not develop completely. So he has been in neonatal NICU since July of 2022. My daughter has been in the hospital since Mother's Day of 2022. And they are hopefully coming home in the next few weeks for the first time ever.
That's amazing.
So we are thrilled, but Grandma's been pretty busy.
So let's see that picture, Bowman. You got it?
Yep.
So most of you know that last year I am Santa Claus, and I don't like to go shopping anymore. I like to give gifts that I've made. So this year, everyone is going to get a professional pizza cutter along with the ingredients to make their own pizzas. And the kids are getting their little chef's hats and aprons and things. So just Jeffrey said that somebody had asked what I was doing lately, and this is what I'm doing.
So where are you getting those gubbins? Where are you getting the metal parts?
I ordered those from Penn State. They actually put them on sale this summer, and I was able to get the cutters for, I think it was $8. I think I figured each one was $8.98, and they're regularly like 17 or something.
And what are you making the handles out of?
Varieties, whatever I had. Most of them are walnut and cherry.
And can you tell me what the size of those handles are? What's the diameter? I'm asking because I've been making handles and I can't get the diameter right.
Well, according to the directions on the thing, they said to cut them at 4-inch. So, or the diameter. The diameter I have not. They're all different sizes.
They look about 1.25 inches, 1.125
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah. Most, it depended on who I was making it for. If it was a hardy person, I thicken it up a little bit, and if it's a little tiny person, I tried to thin it up a little bit. So
Well, wait a minute. So when you're making these, you're thinking of the person who's going to get it. You're just not making a batch of 20. You're thinking each one who's going to receive this and making a handle, focusing on them while you turn that handle. Is that what you're doing?
that's right.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
What finish?
And then I've a couple of ice cream scoops too along the way, because our mothers don't particularly do pizza, so I have done a couple of ice cream scoops for them.
That's what I find is the biggest hit with my kids is ice cream scoops.
Yeah.
Everybody likes Grandpa's ice cream scoops.
That's right.
So,
What finish on the handle?
I can't remember what I used on it. I honestly don't remember which one I used. It was either I honestly can't tell you.
well, it's very nice work anyway, and I'm delighted to see you back. We haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Hopefully be able to be on a more normal schedule coming up in the next few weeks.
I hope your family all gets out of the hospital and gets home safe and sound too.
Yeah, we do too.
Okay, Barry's disappeared. Okay, Don Smith, what do you got?
A couple of
Oh, Barry is well. Let's talk to Don, then we'll talk to Barry and Duxbury. Okay, go ahead, Don.
This is based on something that Jim Duxbury sent me. I'm just altering something for a minute so you can see it. Jim sent me some photographs of some lighthouses.
Whoa.
How's that, Jim?
That looks great. Nice job.
Good on you. Good on
And
you.
with the magnets.
Oh, wow.
Top on. And one last thing, another little box. No magnets.
Well, that's
It
enough.
was a piece
Show
that
me where
we showed last Saturday at the club workshop.
Open that up again so I can see where you put those magnets.
No, there's no magnets in this one,
No
John.
magnets, just a fit.
No,
Yeah.
this was just a loose box down at the club.
Did you make a ball to fit inside it?
No, it's about 3/8 of an inch thick on this one
It's nice.
because of the time factor. But the other one that I have got with the magnets, I'll just turn around. I think I showed you this last week.
Yeah, you did. You buried the magnets behind a ring. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the
Nice.
magnets are behind this ring here.
Yeah. That's nice work. Yeah.
But that's it. Thank you. I just wanted to show that because, as I say, Jim sent this photographs to me on the email of these, and I thought, I know, I've got this driftwood. I'll make that up into that. And of course,
Can you hold it up again, Don?
Yeah, by all means.
There's no blue epoxy down in there looking like water, is there?
No,
Good,
Yeah, I like the wood underneath.
Not
That's,
bad.
that's really neat.
very nice.
that's
Very
the underneath part. And then you've got the 4 trees made out of yew. So you got yew trees. And as I say, the light, the hood comes off. It's just a little light,
Aha,
Uh,
easy to
very
replace.
dainty.
Yeah.
And then the lid, so that it doesn't fall off, is magnetized.
Very
with
nice
this
work.
4. But
Nice job. Don.
Nice job, Don.
thank you very much. So that's me. Thanks very much for letting me show you that.
Nice job, Don. Really nice.
Barry, you there, Barry?
A couple of weeks ago, I acquired all these tools to sell from a former member who no longer can turn. And so in inventorying the tools, I came upon this, which I'm sure many of you do know what it is and what it's for, and I had no idea. And these 2 pieces are solid carbide. One has a 10-degree angle, one has a 15-degree angle on it, and this one over here is just steel. And I was going to introduce it on here as a mystery tool. It's made by Veritas, by the way. And I don't know how many of you are out there thinking, I've seen one of those before, and how many of you actually know what they are. Anyhow, John Kelsey, when I showed it to him, he recognized it immediately as a burr raising tool. And so I thought it would be, I was trying to figure out how to mount it so it would be convenient when I'm turning for re-raising the burr. And I went ahead and made a little wooden one that I'd like to show here, do share screen or screen share. Okay, this is the still image of it. It's just a piece of the tropical hardwood. I'm not really sure what, but anyhow, on the left is a stainless steel bolt that runs through the wood and down through for the clamping mechanism on the lathe. On the right is I had laying around a number of 1/4-inch solid carbide router bits that lost their edge over time, and I just couldn't bring myself to throw them out. In this case, I snapped off about 1/2 inch of the router bit and drove it into a 10-degree hole.
So you're getting the angle by making the pin tilt.
I'm sorry?
You're getting the angle that's on those cone-shaped pieces of the Veritas one by tilting the pin.
Right. Because I couldn't grind carbide. And I did want to make it out of carbide so it could handle high-speed steel. I have tried steel pins with high-speed steel, and the scrapers would cut grooves in the steel pin. So I used carbide, and then here's a short movie of you see how that rod goes all the way through, and then it's going to have a clamping block on the bottom. And it just, I thought it'd be convenient to place it on the lathe so that when you lose the burr, you can go right back to it, stroke it a couple of times, and you're good to go. We got a bowl gouge here, a bowl scraper here, and showing it. You have to apply a lot of forward pressure on that pin to get the burr to come up.
You get a good burr.
I'm sorry?
You get a really good burr off this thing.
Yeah, I did. Before I did this, I took a honing stone across the upper surface to flatten it. to make sure the old burr or the natural burr from a coarse grit CBN wheel had gone away, and then turned this burr, and it was very uniform and, to my feel, very finely serrated. So it would do clean cutting, and it really works well.
So Barry, you're telling me you're not working on a burr that you ground originally. You're making the burr with this device.
So let me stop. I'm trying to stop my sharing here.
You stopped, you're
Done.
good.
You're done.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the question?
Yeah, so you're not working with a burr that you ground on, if I understood what you just said. You're actually making the burr with this device.
That's correct. The burr that comes off the grinding wheel, I guess if I went to a very, very fine CBN or some other means of doing it, it would be less serrated. But it just seemed to me that that serrated edge that comes off the grinding wheel is very prone to wearing out by just folding itself down when you're turning. And I thought actually deforming the metal would be better than just the grinding residual. And so I used a 1000 grit diamond hone to knock off the burr as it came off the grinder, and then reestablish it. And you could probably get, I don't know, a dozen or more re-burr raisings out of a single grind. I don't know the limit, but it does. I used it until it was dull and resharpened it. It did a great job.
Barry, I like your idea for making a new one. I have a question. I've been looking around. I had one of those and I lost it someplace in my shop, go figure. And looking for another one. And I thought they used to be supplied at Woodcraft or something. And I haven't seen any recently anywhere for sale. Are they, does anybody know where you can pick up one of those?
Lee Valley.
Lee
Is
Valley.
it Lee Valley?
Lee
Okay.
Lee Valley owns Veritas. They're the same company. Veritas
Okay.
is Lee Valley, yeah.
I'll tell
Thank
you,
you.
if you want a nice burr or burnisher, if you know a mechanic, you can get an old valve stem, or the valve out of an engine. The stem is hardened and polished. It's gorgeous. It's as good as anything you can buy.
Any other comments or questions on this?
I might add a comment in that theory with old scrapers back in the old days that were just regular carbon steel and usually came about 55 Rockwell, was that you work harden the metal sufficiently during the burnishing or ticketing, as Payne calls it in his book, that you really had to go to a grinder and grind a few thousandths off the edge to get back to regular metal. And I feel you do get a better burr if you do just run a quick pass over the grinder and then use a diamond stone to remove all trace of the burr created by plastic deformation in the grinder, and then go to the burnisher and burnish it.
Now, when you say a better burr, do you mean a burr that makes a bigger cut or a finer cut? Or what are we after here? Removing wood or finishing?
I think you get a more uniform burr, and it is possible to over burnish where the burr starts coming apart as it spreads. So it's a trick to find just the right point. And after a while you will. But I do think if you just quickly grind it and then use a diamond stone, and the diamond stone fares out those grinding marks in the tip of the tool, and you use the top edge to bring it smooth, and then you go to the burnish and don't over burnish enough, but not too.
Would you do that on a negative rake scraper as well as on a regular scraper?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ernie, could you perhaps take a 5-minute sometime at one of these times and demonstrate what you're talking about? Just to do a quick burnishing tool?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
I have to ask. Go ahead.
I've
Go
got
ahead.
one of these as well. May I show it?
Okay, I got you and Duxbury both competing. You got the floor now, Kai. Go for it.
Okay, so I've got one of these Veritas burnishers as well, and I've got kind of one of these European style workbenches, and I put it into the side wise of the workbench, so I can use the burnisher whenever I need it, and I drilled it out from the other side, and then a smaller hole from this side, and cut a thread into it to fit this piece of threaded rod, and then I keep the metal bits that you need for putting into the burnisher inside this. Oh, sorry, inside this
that little
cavity.
compartment there, yeah.
So, and once I've, you just need two of them. Once I've used it, they just go out again and back into here. Oh, sorry, it's outside the camera range. Back into here.
So that's like
And
your
then-
secret compartment, so you don't lose the gubbins.
Yeah, that's right. And then I can install that in a convenient place.
So what's
So
been
that
your
works
experience
rather
with
well
that,
for
Kai?
mounting it.
What's
Sorry?
been your experience using that?
I think it's great, and I do it in a similar way Ernie described. I first sharpen the scraper, then I remove the burr from the grinding wheel, and then I put a new burr onto the scraper. Sometimes a small one, sometimes a bigger one, depending on how hard the wood is and how aggressive I want the cut to be. But it works really well, and the burr keeps much longer than the one that you get right off the grinding wheel. So I'm happy with that.
That's the key, is the burr lasts longer. I'm to the grinder all the time with my scrapers.
Yeah, try it. I think it's good.
Yeah.
It's worth an investment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's see. Duxbury's been trying to talk. Duxbury, come on. What do you got?
Yeah. No, I got a question or comment. In the tarmac instructions, back in the back section where nobody's ever read, it says use the burr on side grain and you sharpen it and remove the burr on end grain. And I found that kind of works. I just wondered what everybody else thought.
You know, I saw a Stuart Batty demonstration many years ago when I first started turning, and he was first talking about negative rake scrapers. And one of the points that he emphasized was you use a burr on softwood, being most of the woods we have in the U.S. But if you're doing very hardwood, like he was doing a lot of work with exotics, he said you remove the burr. Ivory turners never had a burr on any scrapers they use, and end grain is very hard. So I think if you're doing end grain on harder wood, especially like Bradford pear, Osage orange, yeah, you might want to consider removing the burr to prevent a dig in.
I think it really works. I don't know. I just wondered what everybody else thought. But on a end grain box, when you take the burr off and go across the bottom, it just polishes it. I just wondered. Anyway,
I think that's right. What you've got there then is a very sharp corner, very sharp edge, and that's what's going to do it. It's almost like going in with your skew chisel and using your skew as a scraper on the inside of the box.
that's right. It almost burnishes the wood. It's pressing in as it's removing very little. Yeah, I just wondered.
Nice comment. You got any more? You had something else you wanted to show?
Oh yeah, I'll do a screen share here just a second.
Go for it.
Dan and I share a lot of things. I'm still making his napkin holders. Here we go. I'm still making his napkin holders.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
Now, what woods are we talking about here? It looks like cherry, huh?
Cherry and maple trim. Yeah. I made 4 more of these. I've made a bunch of these. Some people love them, some people wouldn't have them, but His had a handle on the top. It was called an umbrella. Don, what do you call it? An umbrella napkin holder, right? Or something. But this was supposed to be an umbrella, and this was a handle on the top. And I didn't think the handle was any good. Who needs a handle on the top of their napkin holder? So I put a cup on there. By the way, this is turned out of one piece, this whole stem. I roughed this out and I stick it right through the headstock and I grab it right here and turn this whole end. And then put a cup center in here and a live center, or a regular center on the other end, and turn the stem. And it really works neat.
So the umbrella there, like the wide piece, is part of the stem, or is it added on?
No, that's added on.
That's
But
added on.
the goblet on the end, the toothpick holder, and the stem is all turned in one piece.
Well, I could see the potential for conflict here. I'm of the school, I would find that entirely too ditzy to bother with on the table, but my wife would go crazy for it. So there you go.
Yeah, that's about where you're at on this. Okay. And this is another thing. I turned this along the bottom part of this a long time ago. It's bloodwood, walnut, and oak or things. And I half liked it. I don't know. I saw it somewhere. And so I made a lid for it, and I think it helped it. Okay.
So what is this? What do you want that? What do you intend that box to be used for with those two wings on it?
No, I have no idea.
It's not for some special purpose that
A winged box. I have no idea. I don't even know why I made it, yeah, to tell you the truth. And the last thing, I made a few of these things. This is made on my other duck chuck, but these are earrings in a puzzle piece. Kind of interesting.
Very nice.
Your
Very
previous one looks like a Viking boat. Just cut a point on the one end.
Yeah, well, maybe.
And also, how wide a kerf is that for the napkins to stick in? I think it's kind of neat, but it would be kind of weird trying to fit the napkins in the slot.
No, it's not really. It's a wide bandsaw slot. I cut it on the bandsaw, and then I put the thing between centers, and take some sandpaper and just clean it out, sand it out, and it fits. On some of them, yeah, these are just paper napkins. The one Don showed, this thing was probably 20 inches high, and it was gorgeous, but they used the big cloth napkins, I think.
Yeah, and if the slot's too loose, you can always go to a better grade of napkin.
Yeah. But no, once you clean this out with, I don't know, 100 grit sandpaper or something, and right at the beginning, you can't see it, but I kind of open up to right at the first 1/4 inch. Most of the time I open that up, and so it slides right in. There's no problem on that.
You guys are so amazingly clever.
I thought that was neat, but we've made, oh, I can't tell you how many of these. Thank you, Dan. That was great.
Are you done with your share?
That's it. Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm going to try and get back to a gallery view. What have I got on going on here? Too many little windows. Okay. And thank you all. It's 11 o'clock. We've had a lovely hour, as we always do. We still got people showing up here who haven't ever showed us any work. So I'm kind of issuing a challenge to you all, you lot who don't ever show work. Come on along and show us some work. It'll do you good. And as you saw this morning with Dave, you don't have to have any practice at showing work here. You can, we'll treat you nice, even if it's your first time out. So.
Hey, yeah, and Dave, the thing to know is that Robert, who is on here, was the guy I first saw turn a hat. So.
Oh yeah, Robert and his wife both have hats. So there you go.
Years ago, I mean decades ago, maybe I was at your shop when you turned a hat, and I thought that's crazy.
Those of you who don't know Robert Gocknauer, he's a retired professional turner. He turned for a living here in Lancaster for many, many years. And our club used to meet at his shop, which was a great place to meet. So partly because there always was a pile of firewood out there that the tree guys had dumped. So you never went home without any new piece of wood when you went to visit Bob Gottman. Thank you all. We'll see you all next week.
Yep, thank you all. Thank you. See you later. Cheers, Jim.
Care,
Bye.
everybody.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Wood